Well, Dennis,
Yes, Joe.
I have some hard news to share with you.
Oh no, what happened?
Our favorite upcoming EV,
Uh huh.
the Nikola Badger,
Oh, can't wait.
it's no more.
What do you
It's
mean?
gone.
What do you mean?
It's over.
Is is dead before it even started?
It's dead before it even started. It's the deal with GM has been canceled.
Oh,
R.I.P.
the humanity.
R.I.P.
Oh, rip. I'd play a sad trumpet if I could, or a violin,
Tiny violin.
but I have no musical talent at all, so we're just gonna have to pretend that I am doing that right now.
So what exactly happened with the GM deal?
Well,
What was it?
uh,
Why was it canceled? Why was it so significant? Why are we talking about it? And why? Well, most important question: why do I miss Trevor Milton so much?
well, the reason you miss Trevor Milton is between you and I don't know. That's for you to discuss with someone else. Why you have such a love for Trevor Milton, and as why do I have such a love for Trevor Milton? But at the very least I can explain the deal that just happened, didn't kind of happen, then left, and is being replaced by a potentially different deal, all in the blink of an eye. So back in September, when Nikola was still riding a general high, it wasn't the same high that it hit in July when it was skyrocketing in stock prices in the $60 to $80 range. It was more hovering around, I want to say, the $40 range or whatever. And they just announced the start of the construction of their factory, which still hasn't really been done, but that's for a different time. And they announced that GM would be the OEM that would help them bring their Nikola Badger to life. According to them, GM would supply both the batteries and the hydrogen fuel cell technology for the car, even though Trevor Milton has told me many times that Nikola got some of the best technology, got some of the best batteries, got some of the best fuel cells, but they still decided to pawn it off to GM. Obviously, no doubt they'll say that it was due to lower costs, which it's probably hard to argue against. Even if they did have their own technology, going to GM would probably be more cost effective. Now, they announced this in September 8th, and basically GM was to provide both fuel cells and batteries to the Badger as well as build it. And on top of being paid to do that by Nikola, they were also going to get 11% of the company as well. So GM was absolutely double dipping, and Nikola looking kind of desperate, in our opinion, with this deal, because not only are they paying for the supplies and production, but they also gave up a substantial piece of the company. Well, if you are familiar with your Nikola timeline, you'll know that in September, a lot of allegations got thrown in Nikola's face, most notably the Hindenburg piece, which went into a lot of details exposing how Nikola had done fraudulent things, and it's not really deserving of the hype and the money it's receiving, and it all just started this spiral downwards, which eventually ended up with our favorite person, Trevor Milton, having to step away from the company. At this point, the GM deal was still not done. Whilst the deal was announced, it actually was not signed yet, and they had until December to actually come to an agreement. Well, December has now come, and on the very last day of November, GM and Nikola both stated that that deal is over. Finito. We canceled it, and instead, Nikola has announced that they have entered into a non-binding memorandum of understanding, which means that this deal is still not actually done. It's just like it's not binding. We're kind of working it out. Here's what we want to do. And the deal is now much smaller in the fact that Nikola does not have to give up any equity, but at the moment, they are only looking for GM's fuel cell system to go into their semi-trucks and have essentially canceled the Badger and will start refunding any deposits that were given to them for, people that actually wanted the Badger. And the memorandum of understanding also includes potentially a supply arrangement for GM's batteries as well to also use in Nikola's upcoming Class 7 and Class 8 trucks. So that's what the deal was. That's what the deal is now for the time being. Obviously, like I said, it's not done, but that is where we currently are at. Gio, how you feel about this?
Well, let's rewind a little bit and recap a little bit. I need some clarification on a few things because the Nikola story is very long and wild.
Very.
So if we rewind back to the beginning here, when Nikola went public, they had how many cars were announced? They had 2 semis,
the jet ski,
2 ATVs, correct?
Two
5
ATVs.
vehicles.
Yeah, I mean the Nikola 1 was still on their site, but they weren't gonna make it. But they still advertised it, so it kind of looked like 6 if you just looked at the site without going deeper.
As far as the public knew, there were working prototypes for the semi.
Correct.
The jet ski was a render, but I believe the NZT or the RKT, whichever one, there was also a working prototype. Trevor was very vocal on Twitter, on TV, in every interview. He really wanted to be the next Elon Musk.
Right.
I think he made that very clear. When Tesla released the Cybertruck, that's when the Badger was born, correct?
The design, at least. The concept
design
of
the Badger was actually a gift from Trevor Milton to Elon Musk because the Cybertruck was so ugly that Trevor thought his design was better, and he said, "Hey, yo, Elon, if you'd like this, we'll gift it to you." This entire time, correct me if I'm wrong in this timeline, this entire time prior to this, Nikola has been suing Tesla, correct?
I believe that was
for
ongoing.
a design issue.
The windshield
with the windshield of the semi truck.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward. Now they're public.
Mm-hmm.
Badger's already at this point.
Specs have been given.
Specs have been given. It's no longer a render. It's going to go into production supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
Not much is known about the company, but now they're public, so they have a bigger eye over them.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone just really wanted to jump in on the new tech.
Of course.
Trevor at the lead really was making everything shine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot brighter than it really was. If you actually went through any of their SEC filings and anything, Nikola was always very honest about their numbers, about their expectations. What's their first truck supposed to come out, like 7 years from now?
2023, with their hydrogen fuel station network not being finished until like 2028.
So excluding all the lies, which I guess we'll get into in a little bit, there were lies, but the company itself, the lies were really from Trevor Milton. The company itself was kind of really open.
No one reads SEC filings, though.
Yeah. And investors didn't really look at those SEC filings. What they really were looking at was he wasn't actually the CEO. Trevor was never the CEO. He was the CEO prior to them going public. He was just the executive chairman.
But the CEO reports to him. Remember that. You always like to to push that
The
fact.
CEO reports to him. He made it very clear he was in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was looking at him. He was very loud about everything, and he looked promising. Stock went spiking up, and a lot of people, very specifically us, were questioning the legitimacy of this company and the possibility and why it was valued so high. Because we were one of the first to call into question the legitimacy of this company, calling them outright a scam. Probably not the right use of words.
And game
blocked. But that did not age like milk, it seems.
Age like wine.
Age like wine. So they entered this deal with GM, correct? Like you said, they were going to build the Badger. Initially, we always knew that the Badger was going to be built by someone else. I believe Trevor made that clear, correct?
Yeah, that was never any timeline of hype.
Yeah, there was never any expectation that the Badger was going to be built by Nikola.
Mm-hmm.
Nikola has partners with, I forget the name of the company for the tray, which is their
Bosch?
third
Oh,
semi-truck.
Iveco? Iveco?
Iveco, Iveco, however you want to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
They are building the Nikola tray, which is the third semi, the one like Dennis said is just no longer going to be built.
No, the one isn't going to be built. The tray is for the European market.
The tray is European market, the two is for the American market.
Yeah.
Nikola was set to build a factory in Arizona for the two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because the tray is not being built by Nikola, they're being built by Iveco in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of hype to this factory groundbreaking, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Trevor made it a big deal, and it turned out there was that was like the first true con that Trevor didn't publicly pull properly, I guess you can say. It was the first one that people were like, something's not right here. They did this groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
People started, and Trevor was saying, oh, we have people working on this. The factory's going to be done in 12 months or whatever they said.
Yeah.
There's tractors and trailers and everything's getting done. They said, he specifically said, we're breaking ground because we're starting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't remember who it was, but there was someone, or probably a couple people, that casually drove to the site after the groundbreaking a few times a week.
Yep.
A month went on, not a single thing happened. It was just the same shovel sitting in the ground from the groundbreaking. It was kind of comedic. That was really the first time Trevor really couldn't get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
He made a lot of false statements as well, stating that Nikola had the largest hydrogen station at their headquarters, or something of similar.
Yeah.
They actually do not. He said that the Nikola headquarters were 100% solar powered. That was very easy to fact check as false through Google Maps.
Right.
Don't know why he tried to get away with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of lies. Eventually, Trevor got booted out of the company.
Yep.
But in that gap, between everyone realizing he was not really truthful and everyone hoping that Nikola was the next Tesla, there was this GM deal.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how long it was in the works. We do know that, again, Badger was going to be built by an OEM.
Mm-hmm.
He hinted at a few. I actually expected it to be GM. Don't know if you remember that, Dennis.
Yeah.
We made a little bet.
Yeah, we made a little bit.
Because Trevor and Nikola's I'm not sure, the executive
one of
staff,
the executives.
Yeah, one of the executives. They had a lot of ties to GM. Just like they have a lot of ties to Bosch. Bosch were making their actual hydrogen motors, correct?
Yeah. Producing them.
So Nikola and Trevor always had ties to these bigger companies. It wasn't a tiny startup trying to get their foot in the door. They had a lot of people betting on them. GM signed this deal, or signed the deal stating that they will consider a deal.
The preliminary.
To build the Badger, like Dennis said. 11% of the company, I believe, was what Nikola was set to give to GM just to build this Badger. So in hindsight, the deal wasn't really bad for GM. They were getting guaranteed partnership where they were going to supply parts to the Badger.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't know. Were they at the time? Were they going to supply parts for the semi as well?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
that was a really weird thing when they announced it, because we all assumed it was just going to be Badger stuff, but then when you read the agreement, it was going to be fuel cell and battery technology for basically everything.
Which made no sense, because Trevor Pryor was always spouting that they had the best battery technology, they had the best hydrogen technology, that they were making everything in-house.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there was kind of like another hint, like, hey, this is kind of weird. Why would they ask GM for more of these components if they already have them?
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought GM was a little foolish for taking this deal with a company that was very distrusting. They've made themselves seem distrusting. But then on the other hand, it was a win-win for GM. There was nothing to lose.
$2 billion
Free money
in stock, and then
free money, free stock, and all they had to do was build parts that they were going to be paid for. It
Built.
really secured Nikola. I think that's why they pulled. That's why they requested this deal, because it really secured Nikola in terms of them having the ability to do this. Because again, they didn't have a factory, they didn't have these components, they didn't have these employees. So this was like, hey, now we can do it. So now what's stopping us?
Mm-hmm.
So that deal was supposed to be finalized, and then instead of finalizing, they extended it, correct? They extended the finalization
To
December, which is also conveniently when the lockup period for
a lot of
Nikola
the
employees ends. Yeah. So now a lot of the employees can just sell their stock, which...
Well, a lot of them extended their lockup period to, I believe, April, as a show of confidence in the past month, because obviously people have gotten wary.
I don't know how important that is, given that Trevor Milton still owns, like, what is it, 40% of the company?
24?
24% of the company?
Something like that. But
And he did not extend it. He's been booted out of the company. They don't even allow him to say the word Nikola. He's disappeared. We have not heard from him since.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he always did promise not to sell his stock once the lockup period ended, because everyone, once they were questioning the legitimacy of this company, everyone was like, oh, this guy's just going to sell everything the moment he's allowed to. I guess now we'll really find out if he is going to do that or not. The lockup period now is over.
I don't know. I've seen people say that since he's under investigation by the SEC, dumping all the stock would be kind of a bad look in case of fraud charges. I don't know. So maybe it's not a complete guarantee that he dumped everything or will dump everything.
Ultimately did decide to finally confirm that they're not doing this deal. At least not now. So, as it sits, the Badger does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, their CEO, was it Mark Russell?
Yes.
Am I confusing CEOs?
Too many marks in the game, but yes.
Too many marks in the game. Mark Russell had said, hey, if we don't get this GM deal signed, we're just not going to make the Badger.
Yeah.
It's not a primary focus of the company.
Yeah.
So currently we have no expectations for this Badger to ever exist. Nikola will go back to being a hydrogen fuel cell company focused in transportation and semi-trucks,
Mm-hmm.
in long-haul commuting infrastructure.
Do you think that's a good move?
Well, I should note, there's a huge asterisk to that. None of the above we've seen. It's not like they're going back to something. This is still a startup. This is still stuff that they're going back to creating.
Hey man, there's five whole trays in Germany, or no, sorry, one completely working, and 4 more being built. So
well, the trays in Germany are actually being built on Iveco's platform.
Correct.
If we rewind a bit, Nikola doesn't really have anything to do with the Nikola tray either. Not in terms of just building, but the entire structure of it is an Iveco truck. They're just throwing in the hydrogen motors into it. I mean, Trevor had always said that, because people were always questioning, what does Nikola do? What does Nikola do? What does Nikola do? And Trevor had always said, well, we provide the hydrogen components, we build the batteries, and we do the infotainment system. So now we've learned, A, they don't do the batteries.
Right.
They don't do the fuel cell. Fuel cells were always provided by Bosch, so I don't know what he was on about.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're requesting GM for both batteries and fuel cell.
Mm-hmm.
So really the only thing Nikola's doing is they're making the infotainment system.
And the design of not the tray?
And the design of everything but the tray, yeah, because the tray is just a Iveco body.
I guess
there's
the
nothing
interior?
unique there.
I don't know. The HTML5 supercomputer?
I really love this story. I really love this Nikola story. It's been the most exciting time of my life, gotta say.
I can't wait for the documentary. If there's no documentary, I'm going to be severely disappointed. Might have to make it myself.
What's going to happen in Nikola World? Has that been canceled yet?
Of course. At least
been confirmed.
Have they canceled? I don't know. I'm sure they canceled it. Or
people were paying $5,000 just to meet Trevor Milton.
well, give that refund. Give that refund. It's all tumbling down. But is this a good move? Do you think they don't have to give up a large equity stake, and they just can kind of go back to not being hyped?
For whom? For GM or for...
No, Nikola. For Nikola.
Probably a bad move for both of them. I guess GM didn't want to put ties to them. We should rewind a little bit again. I know we're rewinding a lot, but...
You keep rewinding, bro.
A lot of the... We as a group, Dennis.
No. I said I gave the full play. I didn't rewind once.
A lot of the controversy before GM dropped out of the deal wasn't even Nikola specific. It was Trevor himself.
Correct.
Was caught in a lot of nasty stuff. Leave it at that.
Right. You can go look it up. Well, I don't think...
for GM, they don't really want to be tied to it.
Yeah.
Right? So they kind of just want to take a step back. For Nikola, I don't know, because it seems that Mark Russell is running this company entirely different from what Trevor wanted. Trevor was really building a brand. He was building a hype machine, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Russell really just wants to build the trucks and make money on the trucks.
Yeah.
Does that work in this day and age? Maybe for a small business, for stocks, Russell, if you're trying to get your stock price up, I don't know.
Does Mark Russell even have a Twitter?
I don't know. I mean, can you even run a company and your CEO doesn't have a Twitter in this day and age?
I'm starting to see. No, you cannot. You cannot be a public company and not have a somewhat public-facing CEO, because I don't know. People really like to get a feel for who the CEO is. But I mean, this
is a big pause for Nikola. Like, there's not much more. I know we were talking about it months back, but Nikola's pre-revenue. They don't have any income coming, and they don't have their first product for 3 more years or so. So the only thing that this company was riding off of was potential future hype. So I don't know what to... I mean, their only revenue that Nikola's ever generated was Trevor Milton installing solar panels in his own home. He used the company to do that. That's it.
Well, I believe Nikola did state they haven't just enough money to survive until their planned roadmap of trucks come out. Because the tray is supposed to come out next year. It's not the 2 just is going to be a while. So.
The 2 is the only thing they're building in their factory that's not built yet.
Right, but the tray is something will, if it sells, be a revenue stream, maybe, hopefully, if they can ever manage to build more than 5 of them. But I mean, obviously I've seen the notion that this is bullish, because we're just kind of reverting back to what Nikola was in the first place. Just kind of an unhyped hydrogen semi-truck company, and it doesn't have to deal with the distractions of making a hyped pickup truck and having to deal with the fact that they now have to accommodate a completely different vehicle architecture and like design, because all their semi-trucks are the semi-trucks, but having to put in the work to create a completely different vehicle segment probably is a strain on the company's resources and time. I'm also equally doubtful that we're just not going to see the jet ski or any of the other stuff too, and we're just going to end up being strictly semi-trucks. At least not until, if those semi-trucks become popular enough, then they might expand out again to their other passion projects or whatever you want to call them.
Well, that may be true, and it might be better off for Nikola long term.
Mm-hmm.
Just focusing on one specific thing and getting that right.
Mm-hmm.
We have a timeline for that, and it's a very long ways to go. So if you're holding this stock, I don't know what you're expecting, because I'm not expecting any news from this company in the next 12 months, honestly.
Remember to say you're not a financial professional, and you should not take your advice or my advice or any of the advice here. Do your own due diligence. But you kind of wild for it.
There's just nothing. We have the timeline. There's nothing that they have in this timeline of announcements in the next 3 years.
Well, if you think that the stock's going to be, $50, $60 in 2024, then, I mean, it is cheaper than $50 right now. And so you believe that it is a safe bet. So
You run a lot of
invest
risks
now?
as up and down.
Yeah, but
I guess sure, yeah, it is a good idea to invest early, but keep in mind, Trevor Milton has a few $1 billion sitting on this that he wants out. They full on kicked him out of the company. We really need to stress that this wasn't a. We'll take our separate ways. They kicked him out of the company, made him sign a paper saying that he couldn't even say the word Nikola on Twitter. It was it. Done. Over. Finito. And he owns the majority of the company. He's the highest shareholder. If you were in a company and they kicked you out,
mm-hmm.
Are you holding your position in that company?
Well, no. But like I said, I don't know what fraud charges look like. If it really looks like I dumped all my shares, it makes me kind of look more fraudulent. So, I don't know. I need to consult my lawyer about dumping stock.
I don't know if it would. Because he's been wronged. I mean, he built this company.
I mean, he always was
It's no longer his company. He was betting on himself, and now it's no longer him running it. It's if I have my money in Tesla and Tesla stops making cars, am I going to still invest in Tesla? I don't know. I'm kind of in Tesla for cars.
But he was also on it for the mission and believing in the mission. Of course, that was when he was in the mission. Yeah. But
it's definitely hard.
Who knows if he was genuine?
It's definitely hard to decipher which of Trevor's statements were true and which were just false. But you do have to give him credit. I wholeheartedly believe that Nikola skyrocketing and Trevor Milton being very loud about it is the reason that all EV stocks have taken off. They haven't really stopped. Nikola took everything on a path up with it. Since then, they just kept going.
Yes. So, rip to the Badger. Everyone pull out your small violins for the greatest car to never be made. And pour one out for our homie Trevor Milton. Yeah. Well, no, yeah.
I believe I said the words, "I will eat a shoe" if the new Badger's ever made. I said those words.
I mean,
my digestive system is not angry.
I feel like as soon as your CEO at the time, Mark Russell, comes out and just bluntly says yeah, if this doesn't, we're just not gonna make it. I mean, I feel when you're so transparent about your not wanting or inability to make a car, it's basically done. And given how long the GM deal was stretched out without being confirmation, I mean, I feel like most people knew that it was not going to happen in that form. So, as time went on, it just became more and more kind of obvious. They moved the Badger to the sidebar of the website. It was no longer prominent, so it was we were all just waiting for it.
To end this off, Mark Russell, please come on our podcast.
I don't think Mark wants to talk to you, bro.
Trevor, if you're out there, I just want to shake your hand, bud.
Trevor, DM us off your burner Twitter account. I know you're there.
He can't. He blocked us, remember?